happy May breakfast. Welcome, everyone. All right. So I get the privilege of covering for our chair today. As always, he's in research mode, so I'll stand up and cover this particular portion of the meeting. We got a pretty tight agenda, but I want this agenda to have the focal point and you have enough time to ask questions to a very important candidate that you'll have here today. So as we go ahead through this, I hope some of you all have seen the postings and you wrote questions. But if not, as we go through the presentation, have your questions ready because we will have a Q&A time when she's finished presenting. So be ready for that portion. So if I can get a veteran to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, that would be wonderful. We know this is what we typically do. It's always a veteran, so. Anyone? It doesn't matter. Okay. You can do it from right there. We got it. He's going to do it from right here. Everybody, let's stand.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mr. Frank. Okay, so you can kind of see it on your bulletin that you have in front of you. But I'm going to run through our agenda, and then we'll be ready to start. But we will have a quick little special recognition, and then we'll talk about the roundtable discussions that occurred last month. We don't want y'all to think that we did not get to that point. We will. And then we'll have the introduction of the speaker by our third vice chair, Ms. Tinsley Best. You'll get to hear from the candidate for the state superintendent, Ms. Sylvia Wright. You may not hear from me on the school voucher update. And that is because we can disseminate that information, but what I want you to do is use your time to talk to your candidate for school board. Right now, education is in a very volatile state, so use this time wisely. You hear me all the time, and I can give you updates at any time. And then you will hear from our second vice chair, Tori Miller. She is going to talk about the funding cuts at the technical level, which is another very important topic. And then we'll close out with Ms. Tinsley Best coming for a call for community announcements or updates or comments that you might have before we end the meeting. Okay? All right. So before we continue on, let's take a moment of silence just to remember those that are suffering during these turbulent times is the best way to describe it. A moment of silence, please. Thank you. Quick announcement. On your table, you will see newsletters. One of the ways that we will be able to keep you up to date is if you follow along with the newsletters that are coming out. Information is happening so fast, things are changing so fast, so we're trying to ensure that we keep this newsletter going. Bill did this as chair, and he's continuing to keep the newsletter going. So we want to make sure that your email is on file with us because that's where the newsletter comes out. You can also check the website because you'll have access to information there as well. Oh, great. And so on the website, you can sign up to get the newsletter. Thanks, Bill. And also follow us along on Facebook, social media posts. Celebration time. Who is celebrating birthdays, anniversaries, or any moments that you are proud of this month for the month of May? Any birthday babies? All right, hands up. I know my mama won't do it, but my mom is too. So let's take, awesome. If you don't want to stand hands up work, let's take 2 minutes just to applaud. We don't have to sing happy birthday because you might be standing for a different reason. Let's take 2 minutes to applaud and say congratulations and happy birthday, happy anniversary, whatever. I was going to break out in the happy birthday song, but I didn't think y'all was ready for that, so I didn't. I'm not ready for it, so don't worry about it. Okay. So here we go, roundtable themes. So last meeting, you remember you broke out into different sections, and at your tables, you were able to write answers to 3 questions. So if you weren't here, we're going to tell you exactly what the people who were here said. The first question was, what is some of the issues that are pressing for Greenwood? What are the problems? What are the areas of concern? The second question is, what do you think happened to the vote in 2024? And the third question, probably the most important question, is what are you willing to do? So we looked at it, and there's about, from all of the comments that were on the papers, there was a theme. Consistently about 36 different responses that were the same. May have been worded differently, but they came out to be about the same. So what we've done is I've grouped them together in themes just so you will know that you are not alone in what you're thinking. The first theme, medical benefits, whether it was for the elderly, whether it was for women, or whether it was for veterans, you felt like access to medical benefits or access to quality health care is in jeopardy. And that was from what are the issues inside of Greenwood. So there's the relevancy. That wasn't a top-down approach. That was right here in Greenwood. The next thing was, what do you think happened to the vote in 2024? And you said people felt like their vote didn't count. You said that there was a lack of trust amongst elected officials. You said, or just the whole campaign idea. You said that there was gender bias. You said that there was a lack of education. And when we talked about a lack of education, what you were referring to there based off of the information that was provided was awareness of the candidates that were running and their viewpoints. So not K through 12 education. This was people didn't know who was running. People didn't know what they stood for. You felt like that was the reason why the vote wasn't where it was for 2024. And in the last question, it was, what are you willing to do? You said that you were willing to volunteer, emails, phone calls, and fundraisers, get the youth involved, increase the presence in the community, and build precincts. Now, I know this sounds strange, but out of every table that we had in this room, those were the common themes. I don't know, how many people did we have at the last meeting, Bill? Do you remember? Estimated? 75 to 80 people. That's a lot of people. And those 75 to 80 people all felt this. Now, there were some one-offs, some spin-offs, but if we were to group them into a theme or a category, that was the gist of where we are. So I come with suggestions, because that's what I do. In order to win elections in 2026, 8, 30, 32, you're going to have to increase activism. I think that's what we'll have to do. And the way we do that is we start by recognizing that we need to stop looking for a hero. Because if you haven't realized it yet, you are the hero. The things that you do every day in conversations, in actions, in showing up and being who you are the things that the hero will have to do. So stop looking for one person to come through and save the whole Democratic Party. It's all of us being committed to the cause that we signed up for. The second thing that I would recommend is that you have tough conversations at your dinner table. Now, this one is hard because you're around people who you love and you care about, and they may not align with you politically. But these are the conversations that if we want to chip away at what we've established inside of South Carolina and then even, oh Lord, on Pennsylvania Avenue, we've got to start having tough conversations and bring value to why we believe the way we believe. This means a family member may not agree with you, but you've got to be the one that's in the room that says, hey, I think we need to stop and think about it this way. Or I find that offensive. Don't say that. Here's what we have to do as a team. And you've got to have those conversations. If you're not willing to have those conversations, I can almost guarantee you that we will be in the same situation in the next coming elections. So start talking to people now. Third thing, help me help somebody with this one. Understand that the message is just as diversified as the party. I'm going to expand that for y'all. Throughout this election, past election, we've heard people say, well, what's the message for the Democratic Party? We don't have a message. What is our message? We do have a message. It's just that our message varies. The Democratic Party is an example of a true melting pot. We have people from all different walks of life. That's what we do. And we ensure that they have access to human rights. That's what we do. So it's hard to have one succinct message when so many of us show up every day to fight a different cause. You came today and you believe in the way you believe and you vote the way you vote, and it might not be the same way that everybody else believes, but you fight the same fight. So the Democratic Party is a party for the people. We make the party. We make it what it is. So don't look for a universal message. Find the message that's near and dear to your heart. Speak to that message. And also be able to listen to the people that's sitting beside you and hear what they feel is near and dear to their heart. I don't believe there's one succinct message. You have the ability to process that however you are. But I need for you to remove that ideology from your thought process, because I believe that is hindering the progress of the party today. So what do you do locally? Because people want to know, what do I do? Show up. Attend city council, county council, community small meetings. I know that on the west side, there's a group of individuals that still meet regularly. And I think it's the coolest thing ever. Sometimes they meet at T.W. Boone's. I got invited, and they'll talk about things that are going on. So if you know of community meetings, go to those meetings to do a couple of things. And don't let me leave out, make sure you're at the school board meetings. But there are a couple of things that you do when you go. You go to be present, you go to remain connected, and you go to keep your ear to the ground. See, because there's only one Jumelle, there's only one Bill, there's only one you, there's only one Tinsley. But if all of us are listening and listening out for the cry of the people, then we'll have a better attack strategy when it comes down to what the people really need. So that's where we are with that. So go to those meetings. And then close the gaps that are in the precinct. One person can't disseminate all the information. So if there's a precinct, if you live in a certain area, if you know you go and vote in a certain area, you should say, I'll be a precinct leader. You come to any of the officers and we'll explain that to you. It's a very simple process. It's just about disseminating the information that's important to Democratic voters. You're not knocking on the doors of people you don't know. You will know that they are registered Democrats, and we'll be able to disseminate that information. But the only way we can take the information to the masses is if you all help with precinct leaders and representation. And I can tell you from that 2024 election, we didn't have enough precinct leaders to make sure we covered all the necessary ground. So this is a hole. If you want to know how you help the Democratic Party for locally, this is a huge hole that I've seen on the back end. We'll give you a chance to have questions later on in the end, but I'm trying to move so we can get where we got to go. So today our theme is education. And this is important. I sent out an invite and I said, regardless of your financial positioning, regardless if you have children in school or not, this is important. Because if we strip away public education, how will children be educated? The masses of children. There will be some that will have opportunities. But why chase after the 2% and let the 98% die from a cognitive point of view or a knowledge expansion point of view? So I'm not sure this clip is going to play. But there was an interview, there was a panel interview that was conducted, and it was Senator Tim Scott. I had to go to a moment of silence just then. But it was Senator Tim Scott, and it was Ellen Weaver. And what they're talking about, the question that I hope you will get a chance to hear, and if not, we'll put it on the website or somewhere so that they can get a chance to be able to go and watch this video. But they asked the question, the moderator wanted to know, what is it that we can do to kind of promote Christian education in the schools? And I'm not sure you're going to get all 6 minutes of this clip, but I wish you would. But I want to point out one thing before I click play. Oh, you won't hear it. Ain't that right? I don't know if y'all going to be able to hear it, but hopefully this picture's going to show. I want to show you something. In our roundtable discussion, somebody mentioned gender bias. I'm going to show you an example of it with no words attached. So if you can't hear it, that's perfect for what I'm about to show you.
My next question, it's like you took a look at my notes. I'm curious to hear if you have any thoughts about how we can better support Christian schools and Christian education, and startup schools, and maybe decreasing barriers to entry, and multiplying and amplifying.
That's a great question. I think what I just said, I think it's incredibly important that we focus on the lack of controversy around funding Christian schools. We just need to take that lack of controversy and push it into the faces, and I mean this with great respect, into the faces of the teachers' unions that control so much of K through 12 education that you can't get a word in edgewise that suggests that there is no controversy about bringing Christian public dollars to Christian schools. Part of it is a funding challenge. Overcoming that hurdle, I think, is incredibly important. And then having every parent given a choice so that every child has a chance is absolutely essential. And to the extent that we, in whether it's Congress or state legislators, support fantastic superintendents of education like Ellen, would be helpful by providing the kind of resources, the public dollar resources, to the educational decision of a parent. We'd call that backpacking the resources. Whether you take the federal dollars, spend $70 billion on K through 12 education, 10% of the overall spend of education comes from the federal dollar, from federal government. Why not put those dollars in a backpack and send it with the kids? Why not find creative, innovative ways to attract more resources into the coffers of education from a Christian perspective? Why not follow Kim Reynolds in Iowa, who has provided an $8,000 basically scholarship for any kid within 300% of poverty. Later this year, it goes to 400% of poverty. And then the third year, it goes to the entire state of Iowa. The parents can choose, not based on income, where they send their kid. We should unleash the dormant seeds in the poorest communities that have just as much potential from an educational perspective by bringing good schools into those neighborhoods.
Absolutely, and Senator, I'd add to that. I would love to see, if not the abolishment of the Department of Education, Jimmy Carter's giveaway to those teachers' unions back in the 70s, block granting funds back to the states, because I know on the ground, a lot of Christian schools are very, very concerned about the dollar or the strings that come attached to federal dollars. And so if you could mediate that with a state entity, unravel some of those federal strings, things like we're fighting now on the Title IX fight. And I'm certainly thankful to Heritage and their scholarship for all they're doing to support state superintendents who are trying to stand up for the right thing on that. But I also think that, that's at kind of the global level. At the micro level, I'm really excited about the innovation of micro schools, because I think faith-based micro schools could completely revolutionize education, especially in our neediest, most rural communities. And I'll tell you, that's what I have a heart for the most in South Carolina, are these places where people have given up. They've lost hope, and they don't believe in themselves, and they know nobody else believes in them. And I want them to know that we do believe in them. We do believe in their God-given potential, and that through an innovation like a micro school, essentially a one-room schoolhouse that can be supported by education scholarship funds, those backpack funds following the student, You know how hard it is, Amy, to get an enterprise off the ground. And so to think about maybe we don't have to have a traditional brick and mortar school. We could have something smaller. Maybe there's classroom space in a local church that's just sitting empty during the week that we could harness. I think there's so much opportunity for innovation there that could serve students, truly serve students in every single community.
Absolutely.
Okay, wait a minute. Let me take you back because I wanted you to see one particular thing. If you can see this screen, oh, I'm sorry, I keep walking away from it. If you can see this screen, I want you to pay particular attention to the ladies on the left and the right. And you see their posture? Crossed at the ankles, the hands are positioned a certain way, back is straight. They know they can't stray. There's a certain image they have to depict. Now I want you to look at the gentleman in the middle. He came to do the panel and took his shoes off. And he is rubbing his feet together like it is time for a nap as he discusses this. And his posture is off. I think that is a great image to show you an example of what women face every day. You don't have an opportunity. Now, if one of them, and I'm not a fan of Ellen Weaver, we know this. If you follow Black, White, and Blue in the South, you know I'm not a fan of her. But if Ellen Weaver was to unbuckle that sandal, they'd have probably disconnect the whole TV station, right? So even if they're not saying it, but you need to understand that. Now we're going to get to the real thing. But when I watched this interview, I watched the posture of the three people. And what it showed me was the person in the middle, we already know he's missing it by a long shot. But even his body mannerisms show that. You did a full televised presentation with your shoes off and rubbed your feet from the moment you started talking until the end. Now, I thought that was tacky, but maybe he has a reason for it. So I wanted to show that, not only because of that, but I wanted to do that to set it up because we have a candidate here, Ms. Tinsley. Bess is going to come on up, and she's going to introduce our speaker for today. But I wanted you to hear a little bit about some of the presentations that are going on around this nation about education. In that video, she said micro schools. I don't know about you, but I got nervous. I got nervous when she got ready to speak, really. But micro schools, you want to be able to take funds. And they say backpack, so the funds goes where the students go. And if a church has a room they're not using, then we can give that money to that particular school. I hadn't heard anything about regulations to ensure that quality of the education is up at par. We don't know if this is her favorite word. Is this going to be a great example of indoctrination or not? She stands firm about certain things being indoctrination, but not this particular situation. Okay, come on, Tinsley, because I keep talking. Come on, Miss Wright. I'm going to let Tinsley get you together.